What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Sports Bluff. I am your host, Tristan Bunn, joined, as always, by my friend, my confidant, my fellow football fool of my entire life, Ryan Lambert, ready to talk about some Week 17 action. Playoff scenarios are coming together. Happy New Year, my friend. We got about an hour left in 2023 as we record this, but all I'm thinking about is playoff season.
I told you before the show started, when I look at the NFL schedule for the rest of the year, it's so small. It's only like the lower fourth left now, and most of that fourth is the playoff. And so it's slowly, but yet quickly vanishing in front of our eyes. All at the same time. I'm sad. I'm happy. I'm kind of all up and down, all over the place. I really don't want football to end, but at the same time, I'm excited about the offseason and the draft class coming up, and it's going to be fun to kind of break down all that and look into where these guys will land next season.
It's such a catch-22 because on one hand, you're so excited because it's the playoffs, and that's the most exciting part. We're going to make the push to crown a champion, but you also know the season's almost over, and while you are looking forward to kind of a break, we don't really get one because draft season kicks off right away, and then we got to start watching tape and pretending we know what we talk about. Right,
yeah. That never stops, by the way. Us pretending like we know what we're talking about.
That's right. The day we actually think we do know what we're talking about, that's when we lose any listeners we do have. But anyway, let's jump right into the show. What do you say?
Sounds good to me.
All right, here we go. Let's start with, are they fierce or are they frauds? We're going to look at a couple playoff teams and just give our opinions. Fierce means we think they're dangerous. They can make a deep, legitimate playoff run. Fraud means they're frauds. Look it up. Get a dictionary, kids. Let's start with the Philadelphia Eagles. Ryan, fierce or frauds?
I'm going frauds here, and it's not just because of the game today where the Cardinals beat them. The Cardinals also beat the Cowboys, and they're just one of those teams where they shouldn't win certain games, but they somehow managed to do that. I don't know if the Eagles and Cowboys slept on the Cardinals, but look, they won today. That's all that matters, right? There's a W in the Cardinals win column. I think the Eagles are overall frauds. I think their offense is still running pretty good. I think they can keep up with anybody for the most part. But
I disagree with you there.
Well, I think offensively, if you're comparing defense and offense, the offense is definitely the powerhouse there, right? Because if you look at their defense, I know you got some stats for us there on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, pull it up. This is a graphic about comparison. Just their defense this year to last year was their strong point last season, and obviously their defensive coordinator last year, Jonathan Gannon, head coach of the Cardinals, kind of got his revenge. Here's what you're talking about, Ryan. This year, pass yards allowed a game, they're 29th in the league, allowing almost 250. Last year, they were first in the league. Points a game allowed, they're tied for 29th. This year, 8th. Last year, yards a game allowed total, 22nd this year, over 350. Last year, second in the league, 301. So stark contrast. You're looking top 5, top 10 every category to bottom 5, bottom 10. It is a drastic swing as far as defensive performance goes this season.
So you talk about a step back, right? Like that is a massive step back. That's almost the opposite ends of the spectrum. It's almost first to last. There's not many teams that are past 28. There's only 32 teams, Tristan. There's only 32.
Yeah, that's it.
You can't add more, It's not like money. You can't just keep printing more of it. There's 32 teams and that's it. But no, I mean, seriously though, if you look at this Eagles team last year versus this year, it's not the same team. Like, I mean, technically it's kind of the same team, but the key to all of it were the coordinators. Like, that has to be the answer. Like,
no, it is. It is. And I mean, I thought they would take a step back offensively losing Shane Steichen.
Not this big on defense, though.
That's where I'm shocked. I knew the offense wasn't going to be as good because I thought Shane Steichen was brilliant. We've seen what he's done with Indianapolis. He's a wizard, okay? Not that I underrated Jonathan Gannon or anything. I just didn't think the defense could fall off this much. You know what I mean? When you're bringing back so much of the same personnel, but it's really guys not living up to the hype. Obviously, they've been weak at linebacker. That's finally starting to catch them. Darius Slay is not playing good. Their secondary is their big weakness. They just give up chunk plays. They give up so many yards. I mean, I know it was a close game, and like if you look at the score, but against the Cardinals, it really wasn't close. The Cardinals were just moving the ball up and down field. It felt like they had Philly's number, and it felt like they were meant to win that game. So I agree with you. I got to call them a fraud. Could they win a playoff game? It's possible, but I think they're like 1-5 the past 6 weeks or something close to that. 1-4. They're not very good. They have no momentum going into the playoffs, and I don't even think the offense is playing that well. And because of what happened Saturday, which we'll talk about, they're not even going to win the division. So they're going to have to go on the road, probably to Tampa or New Orleans or Atlanta. And I don't know. We'll see if they can get one, but I'm not
1-5.
1-5 last 6 weeks?
1-5. The only win they have in the last 5 weeks is against the Giants.
And it's not like that was a cakewalk.
That was 33-25. Like that's within a score and a 2-point conversion.
Not feeling good about them at all. I think they're totally frauds. Who else we got?
So next up, and this is kind of a tough one because, well, not for me, but I guess for you maybe, it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
So
go ahead, defend them, please.
Well, it's kind of like I'm hedging my bet. If you had asked me before today's game, I would have said they're frauds. Just because it's a binary and I have to pick, I'm going to say fierce because they seem to have embraced who they are. This is what I didn't know.
Losers?
They've got the same amount of wins as the Bills. So, look, I didn't know if they would do it. They have one of the best defenses in the league. The problem is they've still been trying to operate their offense as if it was 2023 or 2022, 2019. They've been trying to be that Chiefs offense when they're just not. I couldn't understand why they wouldn't just play ball control football, punt, feel free to punt. Like if we can punt and control field position and let our defense handle the game, that's a win. They did that against Cincinnati. Say what you want. Oh, backup quarterback. Look, everybody's got a backup quarterback this year. Okay, it's just what it is. Teams are good. They're operating well.
I agree with you on.
You're
I
right.
don't think you can use the excuse of backup quarterback as our problem when Joe Flacco gets up off the couch and comes in and balls out, okay?
Exactly.
Backup quarterback doesn't matter this year.
No, he was literally falling asleep on the sidelines, and he's still throwing for 350 yards. So
he said, "Oh, is this still my couch?"
Well, back to the run. So listen, I think if you watch the game too, the Bengals-Chiefs game, there was a moment, I can't remember where it was in the game, but it was like 4th and 1, and Andy Reid decided to kick the field goal. And you could see Mahomes kind of like shaking his head and mouthing and being like, man, I want to go for it. That was Andy Reid showing me that he's embracing who this team is. In years past, 4th and 1, of course we're going for it. But now, when I've got this defense that's playing this well, I'm not going to push it. All I need is for the Chiefs offense to minimize mistakes, score 21 points, and let the defense do the work. The defense had like 4 sacks on that final drive. They show up when it matters most. Do I think they can win the Super Bowl? Unlikely. Okay, very unlikely. However, when I still have Mahomes, if they play ball control football, limit mistakes, punt, and let the defense do what the defense does, and ask Mahomes to make 2 or 3 plays a game, they absolutely could win a playoff game or 2. So that's why I think I've got to put them first, because they seem to have finally accepted who they are.
Chiefs are 2-3 in the last 5 weeks. Obviously, the Bengals today, and then the Patriots back in Week 15. So those wins, both of them, are not great wins either. The reason they're not fierce to me is because I still think that this team lacks consistency. I think that they, not minimizing what they did on the last drive and all the sacks they got and all the accolades you can give them, not minimizing that, but I would just be willing to bet that if they were going up against a quarterback of another caliber, possibly, it could have turned out differently. I mean, the game today, it was really close. And then last week against the Raiders, I believe they played the Raiders. The Raiders,
they lost.
Yeah, the Raiders demolished them. And I know the score was 20-14, but it felt different than that.
But the Raiders only scored their points off of Chiefs' mistakes. The Raiders' offense scored 6 points. So like that, that's not going to be something that happens a lot.
The defense is still the saving grace of this team,
right?
Because it's not the offense. And I agree with you. I think that they're trying to force things too much on offense. So they're trying to make Patrick Mahomes make those plays, but he can still do it. But he doesn't have the people on the other end of the ball to finish the play out. You can start the play all day long, but you got to have somebody to finish it.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they're a fierce team right now. I think they're a little bit fraudulent because they're likely, they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to get in, and I think they're going to get out the first round. So,
you think they're going to lose? You don't think they can win a playoff game?
No.
You don't think they could beat the Bills or the Dolphins? They've already beat the Dolphins once. Why couldn't they do it again? The Bills, they lost to on an offsides penalty. Otherwise, they win that football game.
The Chiefs look worse now than when they beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it matters, though. I think when you got that defense, it's good. The only team I would say the Chiefs have no shot against would be the Ravens. I think the Ravens would embarrass them. Other than that, I think the Chiefs could beat anybody, but I guess we'll find out.
Every game that the Chiefs have played this year has been so close. I mean, I think they beat the Dolphins by like 7 points.
It's the NFL. This isn't Florida State.
That's fine, but there's at least some teams that kind of run away with football games. The Chiefs haven't done that much at all this year.
How'd the Bills do against the Patriots today?
We're not talking about the Bills
6
yet.
points?
We're not talking about the Bills yet. The Bills will come later.
But it's so
and I'm
ridiculous.
talking about the whole year.
This whole talking point that, like, if you don't beat them by 10 points, they're not a good football team. It's the NFL. It's hard to win football games.
The entire year as a whole, there's been one blowout game that I can see on this schedule right here, and it's against the Bears. It's 41-10.
So you get bonus points for blowing people out.
Yes.
Style points, but if they win every playoff game by 1, guess what? You're Super Bowl champions.
I get it. It's still a win in the win column. I'm not denying that, but we're talking about fierce or fraud, and I just don't think that the Chiefs are fierce. Like they're not there all the way consistently and can go in and beat a team in the AFC that is competing for, the next round of the playoffs. Like I just don't think they have it in them. I'm sorry. Maybe the defense surprises me, and I guarantee you, if you take it to the bank, there's one person you can bet on, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Secondly, Andy Reid. So I get it. I could very well be wrong, but as it stands right now, I think they're on the fraudulent train, and I'll buy a ticket to that train all day long and ride it all the way from Carolina to California.
You think they're one and done? You think they don't win a playoff game?
One and done.
You are crazy. They're going to win at least one, maybe 2, but definitely 1.
I hope you're right. Let me just go on record and say
I'm not being against your team.
Yeah, I'm not a Chiefs hater.
No, I know.
All. I mean, I've been to Chiefs games. I've never been to a Bills game.
Right.
I have Bills posters behind me. So if that tells you anything,
we don't hate any team because we just like the NFL.
Right? Exactly. Except for the Commanders, I can't stand them.
Horrible. Just joking. Okay. Last one. Let's do your team now. Buffalo Bills, fierce or frauds? This is another one I'm kind of on the fence about. I'm throwing pins everywhere. Fierce or frauds? The Buffalo Bills.
Look, I know you're fired up.
Chill out.
I think you're fierce. Now, this is actually difficult for me too. Like, I'm not even going to lie. But I'm going to go fierce. And it just started. It just started once we got rid of Joe Brady. Or got Joe Brady in the house. That's when fierce started. Before that, we were frauds, and I don't know how we made it as far as we did without Joe Brady or without getting rid of
Ken
the
Dorsey,
OC that we will not speak of. No, we don't say that name anymore.
Sorry, like
we just
Baltimore.
don't say it. Yeah, it's just we don't say that. We don't say Leslie Frazier either. And pretty soon we won't say Sean McDermott.
Ooh.
If he doesn't win a playoff game, I'm telling you, he's gone.
We'll see.
If he does, unfortunately, that will keep him in
right.
the house. But yeah, I know today was rough, but also it's a divisional opponent. The Patriots always play us tough, man. Like always. It just the same way we own Miami. The Patriots.
I didn't think it was that bad. Though I thought it was a close game that Buffalo kind of controlled.
Yeah, it was close. I mean, but we lost against the Patriots earlier this year, 25-29.
Right when we were in Kansas City. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we won 27-21 today. So just to show you, they always play us like that. No matter how bad the Patriots look.
I actually agree with you because in this binary game where you have to pick one, the Buffalo Bills are honestly probably somewhere in the middle. Here's my thing. I'm going to say they're fierce because they play great against good football teams. Buffalo is the opposite of what they should be. When they play the Chargers or when they play the Patriots, they fiddle fart around and try to lose the football games. But when they play really good teams like Kansas City or Philadelphia or, have your pick, they turn it on. And Josh Allen looks like one of the best in the league. I think getting rid of Ken Dorsey and bringing in Joe Brady is the best move the Bills could have made. They finally started utilizing James Cook more. The offense, just look at the offensive play calling. Last game of Ken Dorsey, first game of Joe Brady. It is a night and day difference. It looks like a different football team because Dorsey was horrible at his job. I think the Buffalo Bills genuinely could beat anybody, maybe except Baltimore. I don't think they could beat them, but they're hot at the right time. They're getting on a roll. If they win next week, they have won the division, which we'll talk about at the end of the show. That is unbelievable. I want to see Stephon Diggs get involved more because like the past 3 to 4 weeks, he's been non-existent.
I'd like to see Josh Allen throw the ball and actually complete passes. Right. He went 15 for 30 today with no touchdowns.
That's what I'm saying. So, and that's kind of been a recurring thing.
He was a running back today.
Right. Same against Dallas. He wasn't throwing the ball much. It was all James Cook. Now, look, he hasn't had to, but I am worried about them getting the pass game going. If they get into a playoff game against the Chiefs, against, Baltimore, something like that, they're probably going to have to throw the ball to win it. I think they can do it because they have the personnel. I think they could make a run at the AFC Championship game. I don't think they can make it to the Super Bowl, but the fact that they're in this spot after the way the season started is impressive. So I definitely think they're fierce. I know as a Chiefs fan, I don't want to play them in round 1. Okay, Ryan, on Saturday night, the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Detroit Lions in a controversial finish, one for the ages for sure. We don't really... Usually, anybody new to Sports Bluff, we don't get into the whole referee talk a lot. We really don't. We don't judge games or say they come down to one call. This is a rare,
today we do.
Rare instance. Pull up those britches and let's talk some zebras. Ryan, did the Detroit Lions get screwed?
No, man, I thought it was a fair call.
Oh, okay. See ya.
No, of course they got screwed. What are you talking about? He didn't report. Bull crap. They went over this play. Dan Campbell talked about it to the refs beforehand.
There's video of him going up to the refs.
Video evidence. Gene Steratore said that Allen hears the reporting from Decker, but sees 70, therefore ruling him as eligible. This is a complete, just utter breakdown of refereeing in the NFL. It's
unacceptable.
This is unacceptable. It literally cost Detroit the game. This wasn't an early, second quarter play or anything like that.
It was the
play of the game. Detroit did what they needed to do. They converted it on a masterful play, by the way.
They had it in their back pocket all day, waiting for if they had that moment. And by the way,
they had
I will say
8
this.
attempts, by the way.
True. Dan Campbell going for it when they got backed up to the 7 was stupid. He should have kicked it.
I understood it. Because I understood the passion, but he was calling plays off of emotion there. And,
that's right.
And
he let his emotion get the best of him.
He was not playing smart football because I believe if they would have took them into overtime, they would have won.
They probably could have won the game. So I'll say this, not to give the referees an out, not doing that. If Jared Goff throws the ball correctly on that the third 2-point attempt, they still win the game. Like, they had the play called, and Jared Goff just didn't get the ball out there enough. So they could have got in there and got the 2-point. However, you hear a lot of people say, oh, the NFL's rigged. This is bad. I always laugh at that. I always say that's ridiculous. I still do. I mean, I don't think this is one of those cases. This is, as far as I can remember, this is the biggest red flag that I've ever seen. Like, I literally watched that and I said, that just doesn't sit right. That feels like if somebody wanted to argue that was someone rigging the game, how are you going to argue with them?
If you wanted an in to the conspiracy world of the NFL, this is your in.
Right.
This is if you're sitting on the fence being like, man, I really don't think so. Probably not. And then happens.
You see this.
And it wasn't even like, and tell me if I'm wrong, and maybe I'm just remembering it with a biasy, but was the call not a little delayed?
Yes, I thought so too. I swear I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you. My next question was going to be, didn't it feel like a delayed flag?
It felt very delayed. It was, because I remember the celebrations went off. I remember seeing the Detroit fans just screaming their heads off, and then all of a sudden, it's like nobody knew what happened, and then the ref's just talking like, ineligible, blah, 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 whatever.
Right, because Joe Buck and Troy Aikman even were like, hold on, wait, what's going on? We got it was settled. They were celebrating. Maybe, if you go back and watch the All-22 film, maybe the refs throw it right away and the TV broadcast doesn't show it until later. That could have totally happened. But from our viewing angle, watching the television broadcast, it felt like a late flag. And then they go out there and do it. And Detroit's explained it to it. I mean, and you come out and see video of the offensive tackle walking up to the ref. He is not going to walk up to the referee for any other reason except to report. He went up there, Jim, how you doing today? How's the wife and kids? Yeah. No. I mean, It is such a botched call. And here's the thing. If Dallas would have lost it as they should have, that would have been 3 straight losses and pretty much killed any momentum they had for the playoffs.
Brad Allen, let's go ahead and call him out. That's his crew.
You do this.
And Brad Allen has made several blunders this year, him and his crew, and they've been downgraded. I think it was official that they've been downgraded, meaning they will not be in any of the playoff games. They will not be officiating any playoff Super Bowl.
I hope not.
Right? But, hey, look, it seems like Carl's passed the torch down to Brad.
I was about to say, give me Jeffers over this guy.
Because he even had a bad call. Remember, it was the MVS call against the Chiefs.
Right.
When the Chiefs were playing.
The Brad Allen crew.
That was the Brad Allen crew. That could be a TV sitcom. The Brad Allen crew.
Wow.
Coming to you live. Let's see how we can screw up your Tuesday nights.
That is so funny.
This crew, I would be willing to bet, and I'm not a betting man, except for most every Sunday. But
when we record this, yep.
They will not, most of that crew will be disassembled by the time next year comes around. It has been the worst officiating crew I've seen in a long time. And I don't know if it seems like if we're talking like Italian mobsters, okay, this is that mobster crew that gets paid to do the dirty work.
Right.
They're not going to be here next year. They're going to get taken out. I don't know who's going to hit them.
I certainly hope so.
But they need to be gone, my friend. But look, all that aside, however you feel about that, and I think we've made it abundantly clear how we feel.
It was disgusting.
Which team do you feel most confident about between these two, the Lions and the Cowboys, in the postseason?
This is such a tough question.
It's not for me.
The answer really is where are they playing at? Because Dallas sucks if they're on the road, and Jared Goff sucks if he's not indoors. And he was indoors in the Dallas game and was still kind of up and down. I'm going to lean Detroit ever so slightly just because this should have been the 3rd loss in a row for the Cowboys.
100%.
If Brad Allen doesn't come in there with his, mafia ball saying, hey, Jimmy, we need this call to go the other way. I got 1,000 on the Cowboys and I know where your children live. If that call doesn't come in, then Dallas is dropping 3 in a row. And I said on this podcast, this was a must win for them, not in terms of making the playoffs, but you can't go into the playoffs, 1-3 in your last 4 and have any momentum.
Yeah.
So I just feel like Dallas has fallen apart. Dak is playing great, but they couldn't run the ball. They can't get any run game going. Dak feels like the only saving grace, and the defense isn't really doing what it should be. So
remember, speaking of the defense, Micah Parsons, who I'm really high on, he's still a phenomenal player, right?
Right.
But he even tried to give the game back to the Lions after the botched call. Remember,
with the offsides.
He jumped off sides. So, this defense is also falling apart, and it was, at one point in time, I think the best defense in the NFL. Yeah. Earlier in the season, midway through the season.
And they let Tua drive downfield on them last week for the game winner.
It's like, and the offense, they're really, really good, and they can score pretty much at will. But I've also noticed something. Watch this, because I know you and I are kind of football nerds, and this is really, the only reason I noticed this is because I have Tony Pollard on my fantasy team. But if you watch Dak, anytime Pollard slips out of the backfield, it's a play action, it's whatever, shotgun. If Pollard slips out, there's always a tight end that slips out. And Dak, 99% of the time, targets the tight end and not Pollard. No matter if Pollard is open or not, he never looks at him once. I think this is a big problem for the Cowboys. It's something I've been watching for the past 3 weeks, and I think it's a huge problem because if you're talking about a running back getting the ball, say it's a 1st and 10, and you pass the ball to the running back at 3 yards into that 1st and 10, and you have a tight end that's, more covered up. Tight ends are slower. Like, you always lean the running back, right? If the running back's open, you always go to the running back because they have a chance to get more yards. And
especially if you're blitzed or something. Yeah. The running back is more of like a dump it off real quick.
Yeah,
like
they're elusive.
Your safe one. Yeah.
You design most screens around running backs or wide receivers. Tight end screens are kind of newer to the NFL and in the grand scheme of the NFL.
If you got a Kelsey,
yeah, if you got a Kelsey, if you like Schultz last year maybe, or Goddard, those guys. But just watch that, and or go back. But do you think
it might be the fact that they don't trust Tony Pollard in the pass game?
No, but I don't think that at all, because I went back and looked at, matter of fact, today, and looked at all the games that Pollard has had positive receptions. So meaning like 7 or more receptions.
Right.
He's done phenomenal with them.
Interesting.
So it's like when he's rolling good, the offense is rolling good. When Pollard's catching the ball, they're doing good. I think, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's Mike McCarthy. But I think that sometimes, like, Dak gets so one read that he doesn't look anywhere else. And I think that's a big problem for the Cowboys, and it can really bite them in the butt come playoff season. So watch that next time when you're looking at the Cowboys. There's not many weeks left to watch that, but go back and watch it if you want to. I think it
might just be a schematic thing, though. That might be
all
Mike
the
McCarthy.
time.
But it might be Mike McCarthy having to analyze and say, look, when we're not getting the run game going, when Pollard's not affecting the game at all, let's try to get involved in the pass game. I'm reluctant to put it on Dak because just from what I've watched, it feels like Dak has been incredible. Yeah. I feel like he's been lights out lately. I don't want to put it on him, but I do think they need to get him involved more, especially in a game like in Detroit, because they have no success running the ball. So if you're not involving him in the pass game, you're basically taking out one of your best players. Granted, CeeDee Lamb went off, but still.
Right. And again, wasn't a knock so much at Dak as it just was like, I think it's an issue for the team.
No, I understand.
Completely sidetracked the conversation. I do agree with you that Detroit is I'm more confident in Detroit in the postseason because I think that Detroit actually won that game.
Right, agreed. And I think if they met up in the postseason, I would lean Detroit after that one because they made a lot of mistakes and still should have won the football game. Just make sure you keep Brad Allen away from that stadium.
He'll be away from every stadium.
Okay, let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. They demolished the Dolphins. It was never even close. They pulled down their britches and spanked them in front of their mama and everyone. The good Lord above.
For a minute, I thought Josh Allen was out there with the Bills.
Right, it looked like a Josh Allen performance. Look, the Ravens have locked up the 1 seed. What an impressive year.
Crazy.
After all the offseason drama, after all the, they gave Lamar the big contract, the Lamar injury, no team wanting to talk to him. Is he going to go out and perform? He's going to probably win his second MVP. He's taking the Ravens to the 1 seed. They really are in cruise control as far as the AFC goes. I love it. Love to see it. He's playing great. Here's the question. Is there any team that can upset Baltimore in the playoffs?
I mean, very, very few. I would say possibly the Browns.
Yep. I think they're the ones I would lean. I really, anything can happen, but right now, just looking at as it stands, Dolphins, Chiefs, just say Jaguars, Colts, Bills, Browns.
Let's even throw the Texans and the Steelers that are on the bubble. Let's throw them
whatever.
in there.
The only team
the Bills would be comfortable. Second for me.
Agreed. The Bills would be second, but you got to put the Browns one because they're divisional opponents. The Browns have already beaten them once. Mainly, I know you want to talk a little about Joe Flacco, so I'll wait and let you have that. And I'll just mention what we all know. This Cleveland defense is incredible. It's the best defense in the league. They shut everyone down. And the way Lamar's been rolling, the way Todd Monken and that offense has everything going, Zay Flowers, even Isaiah Likely looks like Mark Andrews 2.0. OBJ making old school OBJ catches on the sideline. Everything is working for Baltimore. If you go back and watch that game earlier in the year, I know Baltimore hadn't really become who they were, but they were still one of the best teams in the league. The Browns get physical, they get mean, they get dirty, and they punch you in the mouth. I think that's the only way you beat Baltimore. You have to have a defense that can get physical and disrupt what Lamar Jackson is doing. Cleveland is the only team that can do that. I love Kansas City's defense. I actually think the Chiefs' defense could limit Lamar. Problem is their offense can't keep up with whatever he does, right?
Yeah.
But Joe Flacco can.
Let's talk about Joe Flacco for just one moment. Something I looked up today because, we joke about him being on the couch and coming back. And let's remember, he won a Super Bowl.
With the Ravens.
2012. How many years ago was 2012, Tristan?
That would be 11 years ago.
11 years. In 2012, in the Super Bowl game, he went 22 for 33, 3 touchdowns, okay? That's a pretty good game, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
In his last... Matter of fact, let's go back from, let's say, December the 3rd. Looks like maybe his first game, 23 of 44. 26 of 45, 28 of 44, 27 of 42. This most recent game, 19 for 29. He's thrown let's say, about 15, 14 touchdowns, 13 total touchdowns in the last 5 games.
He's only had one game throwing for less than 300 yards.
And it's been 11 years since he's won a Super Bowl. So if you look at the Super Bowl numbers versus now, he's better.
Pretty similar.
He's similar or better.
Okay. But here's the interesting thing. What do we have in common between now and then? Then he had Ray Lewis and that excellent Baltimore defense. What does he have now? Oh, just the best defense in the league. Probably the best defense we've seen in the past 5 years.
Oh, I was going to say the same lazy boy.
Oh, he probably has that. Still picking Doritos out of the cushion. Here is the question, though. Here's the question.
Yeah.
We know that the Browns defense can shut people down. They're going to keep them in any game.
We've seen that.
We've seen Joe Flacco do good. 300, 13 touchdowns. On the other side of that, though, we've also seen 8 interceptions. He's gonna sling it.
That's okay.
He's gonna air it out. Do you think the interceptions are gonna come back to bite him? Because as much as I love the Joe Flacco story, as much as I love Kevin Stefanski, and he actually might win Coach of the Year. I hope he does. It feels like the Joe Flacco thing has to come back down to earth at some point, right?
I thought that, but it's been 5 weeks straight. And it really hasn't changed. He didn't throw as much last game, but it was really a first half game. Was it Thursday night, right?
Against the Jets.
He did all his work in the first half, then took a nap, literally on the bench for the second half.
He was dreaming about Three's company.
Yeah, and then went over there and typed Quentin Williams on the head. I don't know if you saw that.
That was weird.
That was very strange.
Quentin Williams did not like that.
Look, 11 years, the brain may have taken a little step back.
Right, it might be degenerating. But
body's still going.
Here's the thing. I know you've said it's been 5 games, but we've had so many times this year where we've seen a quarterback think about Jake Browning. For a minute, it's like, wow, this guy's legit. Joshua Dobbs for the Vikings. It's like, oh my God, are the Vikings going to get him a contract? Nick Mullins. And what happens is every single one of them, after a couple of weeks, they regress back to the mean. I feel like it's got to happen with Joe Flacco.
We're talking about a completely different caliber of quarterback. I mean, we're talking
Joe
about...
Joe Flacco's old, though.
He's a Super Bowl winner, though. Like you can't discredit that. You can't leave that part out, right? I mean, we're talking about all these guys who hadn't even seen the playoffs before.
Nick Foles is a Super Bowl winner. No, he's not playing for anybody. He's younger than Flacco.
Yeah, but it's still different, okay?
I don't know. You're a little more confident on Joe Flacco holding firm than I am.
I sure am. Joe Flacco with a really good defense, it doesn't matter about the interceptions, man. If he can go out there and throw for 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns a game, 300, 400 yards, and, have a defense that can shut people out, I don't care if he turns the ball over 3 times a game because the defense is going to stop him 2 out of those 3 times.
Right.
So, and then tell me what offense can keep up with them with that defense. There's not one.
So I agree with, that's the thing. The interceptions you can live with. It's kind of like the whole Matt Stafford thing. Matt Stafford's notorious for throwing a lot of interceptions, but he also throws for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. If Joe Flacco is giving you 2 picks, 2 to 3 interceptions a game, but he's also giving you 370 and 4 touchdowns, you can live with it with that defense.
With the defense.
But if we have a game where he just collapses and he's not giving you 370 yards, instead he's giving you, a 58% completion percentage, 150 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 or 3 picks, that's where it could, come back to bite him. I hope it doesn't. I'm kind of rooting for the Browns. It's just such a great story. I hate Deshaun Watson. He's a scumbag, so I love to see this happen. How funny. I guess Deshaun Watson's the one laughing because his bank account's huge, but it's like you get signed and then Joe Flacco comes out there and outplays you. Your team looks completely different. The Browns are like the must-watch team in the playoffs. Quickly, before we sign off, a couple more things I want to talk about. Let's look at some matchups coming up. The game of the week.
It finally happened. It happened.
It happened. We were hoping it lined up this way.
That was the last thing on my Christmas list to Santa.
Your Christmas list was as follows. Bills at Dolphins for the AFC title. It's going to happen. The winner of this game, Ryan Lambert, is the 2 seed. That's right. For a period of time, it looked like Buffalo was done. Everyone's going to get fired. We're cleaning house. Now, all of a sudden, you beat Miami. You are the 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. Bills at Dolphins. But if the Bills lose this game, they could actually miss the playoffs entirely. Try to take off your Bills hat. Try to be unbiased, as we always do anyway. Who do you like in this matchup? Honestly, where are you leaning as we sit right here on December 31st?
Yeah, I have to go with the Buffalo Bills. And it's not, I took off my Bills hat. I'm wearing the Nike hat tonight, man.
Fair.
I had a Bills hoodie on. I actually took it off. Whenever Miami plays Buffalo, something happens in this football realm. And the football gods stop shining on Miami. And they start shining on Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. And they make them look inflated. And they make them look better than they actually are. The Bills look better than they are when they play Miami.
Josh Allen, Ryan, 9-2 against the Dolphins.
I'm sorry. Say it again.
9-2.
9-2. Yeah.
You think he makes it 10-2? There's no way the Dolphins pull off the upset.
Yeah, I think so. Now, what's the curveball here is it's playing at Miami. Like, that's the curve.
Sure.
But
it's late in the season, so that's good.
And it's not going to be as cold, so that's good.
Right.
Josh Allen doesn't play good in the cold, by the way.
Oh, I would think it would be vice versa because that game, we saw him go to Miami and it was, 97 degrees and Buffalo was falling apart. But it's going to be, I assume relatively neutral weather as far as Miami goes. I feel like Buffalo's probably going to win this game, but if you're Miami, you really don't want to end the season on 2 losses. You don't want to get blown out by the Ravens and then go in, have a home game against Buffalo, lose it, where you were cruising early in the season. Wouldn't it take the air out of them going into the playoffs?
Yeah, but I think what you also got to think about is if Miami loses, it really doesn't matter. They're still going to make the playoffs. I mean, it matters, right? But it doesn't matter as much as the Bills. The Bills, if they lose, there's a chance they don't make the playoffs at all. Miami is locked in. They've clinched. So I think the Bills have something more to play for. They own Miami anyway. Miami's kind of been a little weird on offense lately. Like Tyreek Hill has dropped some balls right in front of him, in his hands today. Matter of fact, he double clutched one in the end zone and dropped it. So yeah, that kind of started the collapse too. Sorry to go off track, because if he catches that, maybe they go up early instead, because Miami was in the ball game. If that play made a difference, and then it flipped. 2-minute warning. They're trying to score. They're only down 8 points. Tua throws the interception. Ravens go right downfield and score, and all of a sudden you're going into halftime down 2 scores, and it got away from them. I think they can't let that happen. They can't let Buffalo start airing it out, going off. The problem is we saw Buffalo beat them early in the season, but that was before Buffalo had all the defensive injuries, and they were able to get physical with them. Can Buffalo's defense disrupt Miami's timing? If you disrupt the timing, if you get physical, they fall apart. I think Buffalo can do it, and I'm with you right now. I'm leaning the Bills. I think the Bills, despite all odds, are going to find themselves in the 2 seed. They're going to have all the momentum rolling in to the playoffs. Go to one more game to talk about, I think, right? Let's talk about the AFC South. Why don't we?
AFC South is weird. It's like nobody wants to win this division.
We're begging.
But someone has to.
We're begging somebody to win this division.
Jacksonville plays... Who does Jacksonville play? They go to Tennessee, right? Yes. So if Jacksonville beats Tennessee, they win the AFC South. But obviously, you can't have any faith in them. If they lose, the winner of this game, Texans and Colts, wins the AFC South. But regardless of what Jacksonville does, the winner of this game is in the playoffs.
That's right.
Houston at Indianapolis.
It's either the battle for the 7th seed or the battle for the 4th seed. That's where we are right now. So it really, all eyes rest on Jacksonville. If I'm the Colts and the Texans, I'm looking at Jacksonville and seeing if I have a shot to win the AFC South.
Because the difference is you're hosting a playoff game or you're going on the road.
That's right.
If you're the 4 or 7 seed.
Yep. And in case anybody doesn't know, it's better to host. So let's
definitely
go ahead and get that out of the way. But yeah,
who you like?
Man, this is tough. But I like the Texans. I really do, because since Stroud has come back, the team looks better.
You mean today?
Yeah, exactly. The team looked better today, didn't they?
Shocker. With Stroud, they look better.
Well, I mean, Stroud, he pulls that team a lot. This team is built around him and makes him feel comfortable.
Obviously. He didn't look incredible today, though. It looked like he still was.
No, but the Texans as a whole look better.
No, I know. I was saying he didn't look like he did before the injury, before the concussion.
No.
I think he's still kind of reacclimating.
Sure, yeah, but still the team plays better when they know they have their quarterback who can go downfield, with 30 seconds left, whatever, and win the game for you.
They genuinely believe they can win. And the benefit they have going against Indianapolis is these are both, youthful teams that aren't used to being in this spot. The fact that Shane Steichen has Indianapolis playing a Week 18 game to make the playoffs is incredible with Gardner Minshew. I could see this game going either way. I lean Houston, but I really, the inexperience worries me. I just feel like Shane Steichen might have something for Houston. Here's a question for you before we wrap up the show. Who do you think would be more intriguing in the postseason? Do you think Houston, or do you think there's any way Indianapolis, if they got in, could take an upset or two?
Yeah, I'm still going to go Texans here. I'm going to ride the Texans train all the way because I actually do believe in the Texans. I think it's a Cinderella type story too, kind of like the Lions. There's just a lot of cool things that are happening with the Texans, and C.J. Stroud is overperforming. D'Amico is doing really good as the head coach.
Yeah,
they've
rejuvenated
Singletary. He looks like a top 7 running back right now.
Nico Collins,
the defense is coming on strong. Every wide receiver that they have is young, and they don't have to pay them a lot, and they're doing really good. From Noah Brown to Nico to, just throw whatever guy comes in, they're going to do good with C.J. Stroud. So
the Tank Dell injury took something out of him for sure, but they've still been able to survive that well enough. Whoever wins this game, just say it plays out like it does. The winner of this game is going to Miami or Buffalo for their first game. So it's going to be hard for them to win a playoff game.
I'll tell you this, and I don't know exactly where the defensive rankings are, but I just know by eyeball test, I feel like the Texans and the Colts are close to even defensively. I don't think one team is super, super high above the other when it comes to defensive, allowed passing and allowed rushing yards. But if it comes down to a shootout or a battle of Gardner Minshew and C.J. Stroud, I'm going Stroud all the way.
That's fair.
I've seen Stroud do it. I've seen him come downfield, win the game when it's all on the line. Can he do it in big time games? We're going to find out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I think you're right. Like if you're going to trust anything in a game where you don't know who to trust, you're going to trust C.J. Stroud, right? Like he's the one that's proven it this season. But something's just screaming in my ear, and maybe it's because I've been, supporting this guy so much, is Shane Steichen. Like I feel like he might have something for him. But then again, the Colts totally shit the bed against the Falcons last week. So that's where this game becomes really fun. It's just the inexperience.
Yeah.
Neither team is used to being in this spot. Neither of them probably expected to be here, no matter what they would tell you if you were talking to them, right? If you were talking to them in private and they were being honest, they'd probably both tell you, both head coaches would say, yeah, we didn't think we'd be here. But they're here. Who is going to be able to overcome the inexperience? Say what you want about the quarterbacks. The game comes down to one simple thing for me. Who makes the least mistakes? I think whichever team makes the most mistakes loses the game. I really think it's that simple.
Could be. One other team I want to mention, the only team we haven't really talked about on the AFC side, the Steelers. Do you see them? Number one, do you want to see them in the playoffs? Because I really don't.
No. Please, please.
Secondly, whatever you have to do, please keep them out. Somebody get Brad Allen in here.
Please don't subject us to that.
And screw the Patriots, please. The bubble teams are the Texans and the Steelers. The Texans have a really good shot at getting in. I hope the Steelers stay out completely. But on so that kind of sums that up there. But on the NFC side of the ball, the Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings, the Falcons, you got 4 teams that are on the bubble that can make their way into the playoffs.
I think the Vikings are done after
they got to be, right?
Getting stomped, yeah.
So then let's just talk about the Seahawks, the Saints, and the Falcons. Like those are 3 teams that could slip into the playoffs really easily if the Bucs or the Packers make a mistake. Now, the Packers look like they're rolling pretty good because they demolished the Vikings tonight. I mean, it was a nightmare show for the Vikings.
So you nailed it. If Green Bay beats Chicago, they're in. If Tampa Bay beats Carolina, they're in.
Tampa Bay's losing steam right now.
Tampa Bay kind of got spanked today by the Saints. We come on here, we make a YouTube video talking about how great they are.
Did it finish in a shutout?
I don't think so. I think
it was a
Tampa Bay
shutout
scored
to like
points.
Third quarter. So
how many times can we say the word shutout? You're going to find out.
No, because Baker, I remember he got it within like 8 points at one time, and then they went for that 2-point conversion. Chris Godwin stepped out and came back in, didn't reestablish. Remember on the back, he got the 2-point conversion. They called it good, then they reversed it.
Tampa scored 13 in the fourth quarter.
There you go.
So you were right. It was a shutout first 3 quarters.
If they would have got that 2 point, they had to go for an onside, and then who knows what would have happened. Probably wouldn't have got it, statistically speaking.
I'm going to go back to talking about the playoffs.
I am talking about the playoffs.
You're sitting here, but about that 2-point conversion. Let me go back.
I'm just saying.
Rehash. Here's the thing. If Tampa loses, then the winner of Falcons Saints is in.
Yep.
Right? So out of those 3 teams, I would rather see Tampa win. I just feel like they can maybe get some momentum back. I'm not putting too much in that New Orleans loss because it's a divisional game. New Orleans defense came to play. Dennis Allen is still a bad coach. I still think Tampa can make some noise in the playoffs. I want to see the Seahawks make it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. It seems like they're losing steam. So right now, my gut says that it holds. I feel like Tampa wins, and then you've got Eagles, Rams, Packers as the last 3 making it. That's what my gut tells me.
My final question to you before we sign off. Out of all the lower tier teams, these on the bubble teams, the Steelers, the Texans, the Seahawks, the Saints, and the Falcons, out of all those teams, what 2 teams would surprise you most if they can make it to the Super Bowl?
Probably the Texans, just because I thought they'd be picking top 5.
So that's AFC side. So tell me NFC. What team would surprise you that they made it to the Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl?
Would it be the Falcons?
The Packers.
Oh, the Packers.
It'd be the Packers.
Okay.
Because I thought they would be horrible. I really did.
Wow. Okay.
You did too. I mean, me and you both thought they'd be bad.
Well, for a little bit, we were correct. But
right. It started rough.
Now it finished strong, though.
It has.
Oh, boy.
Has.
It's like a good whiskey.
It's going to be fun, though. That's right. That's right.
We talk about the small few weeks of NFL season all year long. And when you're actually in it, when it's here, it feels surreal. Like, I can't believe that we're actually here and we're talking about all this and it's actually happening. But it's going to be fun, man. The playoffs are the best time in the NFL.
And we will see you next week to talk about Week 18. The playoffs will be locked in, and we'll preview all of the playoff matchups. See you then.